This message is for when we're feeling a bit allergic to the thought of putting one more thing on the calendar. Hear me out. I get it. I considered myself proudly commitment phobic for most of my 30s, especially once I was no longer working outside of the home. I would daydream of having the freedom and flexibility to see beautiful big blocks of white space on my calendar. And that was lovely in many ways and a privilege in many ways. I actually started working from home even while I was still working for the National Park Service. And even when I was facilitating courses for University of Phoenix and others online, I had experience with knowing that time, freedom, and flexibility isn't necessarily all that it's cracked up to be, because I would describe it like I was rolling around in white space, where I learned quickly that one of the reasons why I probably did so well in school is because my brain really thrives with guardrails and having like a specific thing to work on in a specific time frame. Then whenever I didn't have that, and it was up, if it is to be, it's up to me to actually make myself sit down and focus on something. If it was grading papers in the faculty role, or if it was writing emails or a grant proposal or something for the Park Service at the time, then the biggest challenge for me wasn't getting up and out the door wearing my polyester wool park ranger pants, but it was actually sitting my butt down in a chair and focusing on the task at hand, whatever the most meaningful task was. And so I was under no illusion and knew that white space can, there's like a point of diminishing returns basically. But for whatever reason, it took me all this time, really had to get to this stage of life and motherhood with 3 kids in 3 different schools in very different life phases. I know I've mentioned that a lot, but that's because they've been my biggest teachers and lessons this year. I just quickly realized that it's just not going to work to be calendar free, because there are lots of things happening in time and space, even if it was just for one kid. But especially for the 3 at each school, we have open houses, we have parent-teacher meetings, we have programs, we have recitals, we have fun runs, we have teas, and it's not that, whatever your choice is, like if you're able to be there or not, if you want to be there or not, the holiday parties, all the different things that there are, it's just sports games. There are so many things that are actually pre-decided ahead of time and not a surprise. That is what finally got me to realize, yeah, I get it. I get why people use Google Calendar. For all these years, people would send me a Google Calendar invite. I'm like, they can send it to me, but it's just kind of like, because it doesn't really matter, because I don't live by my Google Calendar. Give me the white space, man. But I was just kidding myself, because then I was feeling, it was like all of these events would creep up as if it's a surprise. It's like a haunted house. Ooh, there's a fun run. Ooh, there's an open house. Ooh, there's a winter wonderland. Ooh, whatever it is. It was like everything had to be a surprise, but it doesn't. It's not a surprise. You could look at it with the holidays, and I've created a program specifically for this too, just like an audio field guide of all my notes and spreadsheet and all that, like to organize thoughts around the holidays. I'll probably share more of that in 2026. It was just for my own self and clients right now. But it's like very little of it is actually a surprise. There's a lot that is going to happen in advance, and you can pre-decide for yourself and gift yourself that mental margin and knowing the time and space. It also increases your enjoyment of it, because you get to look forward to it, because you know that it's coming, because it's on the calendar. So the reframe that I want to share with you, again, add this to your thought closet, hang it on up in your wardrobe, is scheduling is devoting. So instead of seeing it like it's limiting you and it's the man, that's like trying to get you to live by these lines in the calendar and all of that, it's like this is actually going to give you more of an opportunity to look forward to the things, to pre-decide the things that are going to happen in your life, because the way that I was describing it for the holidays is based on that quote, how we spend our days, of course, is how we spend our lives. And so the holidays on her terms tagline, working tagline, is how we spend our holidays is how we spend our lives. Looking at it just like it's a template. It's a hyper saturated, multi-sensory template of a season. And we can we can plan accordingly and make it how we want to make it, and then we can use that kind of as a template for how we plan and experience every other season of our lives. So the point there is, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. If you don't actually put it on your calendar in a system that works for you, so that you know you're going to do that thing, or at least increase your likelihood of doing that thing in a given day, what are the chances it's just going to happen in the cracks of the calendar? And do you really want to leave those things up to chance? So I'm not saying that we need to schedule every single thing, like bathroom breaks and water breaks and when you have your lunch and whatever. But I'm saying the big stuff that actually matters to you, and by big I mean important. It doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, it's a once in a lifetime experience or anything. But just everything that matters to you. We have our quarterly What Matters workshops here in the On Her Terms universe, where we identify and look at your life and what your life is demonstrating evidence of that you actually care about, what actually matters to you right now. Put it on the calendar to increase the likelihood that it's going to happen. It's like birth preferences. I was just sharing that with a friend who's currently pregnant with her first child. And I was sharing how I created birth preferences back in the day, 15 years ago, or however long, whenever I was pregnant with my oldest. And did those birth preferences ever leave their sheet protector in the diaper bag at the hospital for any of my 3 births? No. But going through the practice of creating them and actually understanding what even goes on a birth, I say preferences instead of plan. Thank you, Susie Ashworth and the Calm Birth School in 2015 for teaching me that, because it's not about like manhandling everything and trying to control freak your way into every outcome in every moment of the day. That's absolutely not it. But it was like, what are all the different things that might go on this list? And then in the process of me actually kind of shopping through, these are my options, then making a list of what my ideal scenario would be. I had one for C-section and one for VBAC, by the way, because I got to experience both kinds of birth. That was so helpful to me, and it was so empowering to me because I had to go through that thought process. So the same thing goes here with putting things on the calendar. Just because you put it in your calendar doesn't mean it has to happen that way, but it makes it a lot more likely that it will. And for the stuff that matters, isn't that what we want to do? Because if how we spend our days is how we spend our lives, it's like, look at your calendar for this month, for this week, for tomorrow, for example. What is actually anchored in, like in Sharpie, that really truly you would treat it as if you had a doctor's appointment, or a meeting with your favorite client, or your grandma if she was still here in the physical world, you know, like that was another thing that kind of helped me come around to this point, because I was asking ChatGPT when I was working on habits. I was asking ChatGPT to sell me on the benefits of going to bed at 10 o'clock. And it was like, one of the things was, this is a total sidebar, but it was like something about sleep is better than any serum, like in terms of skincare, knowing that I value my skincare and stuff at this stage. But it was also like, treat it like it's an appointment with, and it might have said an appointment with your favorite client or something like that. Or maybe that's just how my brain interpreted it. But I'm like, right, we value and we take those appointments seriously when it's an appointment with someone else. So why don't we do that for the stuff that actually matters to us, even if it doesn't involve someone else? It's not, I know that it can feel, and this is why I resisted it, so probably why you resist it too, but it's not about restriction, it's about reverence. It can be like I said, scheduling is devoting. It makes the calendar feel like an altar, like, wow, this is my life. I get to create it. It's a canvas. That's better. I like calendar is the canvas, and you get to choose what goes on it. And like I said, it doesn't have to absolutely happen. We know that it's not going to always happen exactly as we have it planned. Hello, we've been here long enough to know that. But we also know that putting something on the calendar makes it so much more likely that it will happen. Because especially in today with technology and all the different squirrels and opportunities of shiny object over here and shiny object over there, like I said, it's even more dangerous in that respect to have the white space and not have something planned, because it's so much harder to focus now with all of the potential distractions and rabbit holes. And now we don't just have the internet, we have AI, and we could have custom rabbit holes that are like spherical conversations that can split into infinite new branches of conversations. And it's like, what was I talking about? What was that thought that I had? So this is just another tool that we can actually use that can be as simple as we let it be, and as beautiful and colorful and emoji laden as we let it be, to just practice. Actually, it's truly about putting what matters into time and space and actually making it real. What matters is what deserves our attention. It's already what's getting our attention, but we can just be more intentional about it and like doing it on purpose so that we can see, because it also helps you relax when you know there's time and space for all the things. Just like we talked about in the previous episode, I have all the time that I need. Prove it. If you don't feel like you have enough time, which is what we talked about when things feel rushed, then this is the practice to prove to yourself that you have all the time that you have, honestly, because we all have 24 hours in the day, and no, they're not all created equally, blah, blah, you know what I'm saying? But we do all mathematically have 24 hours in the day, and you can look, knowing your life, your current energy, desires, resources that you have accessible to you now, and your current commitments. This is what you're working with. When you choose to put things on your calendar that you otherwise might not put, then you're literally creating. It's like I said, the calendar as a canvas, and you get to create the life that you wouldn't trade for anything. You get to make sure that everything that you say matters to you has a time and place, knowing you're going to get to it. That's why with my clients and with my life in general, I like to have the monthly theme on rotation, and this is what we'll do in the podcast in 2026, where we have a monthly theme that we keep rotating back to, because I like to know everything's going to get its turn. Everything's going to have its moment. So this is another way. It's like nervous system regulation through calendaring, which may sound weird, but just think about it and try it on and see if that actually feels true to you, where when you actually put something on the calendar and you take it out of your brain, and it can be digital and physical, whatever systems are working for you, knowing that it's there and it's going to come back, even if it's just a calendar and it's a reminder to think about something. So I think I've made my point there. I was just going to share with you a few examples of things that I have scheduled and put on the calendar that I never had before. Like I said, all of the school events. So in August is usually when our kids' school year starts, and they don't necessarily have everything planned, but they usually have a lot planned ahead of time, even if it's tentative. Okay, great. So I was putting like the Christmas parties and fun runs and stuff in the Google Calendar in August so that, my parents would be able to come. I was sending invites and stuff like that to programs and recitals and all of that. Also, just because a heads up and consideration for anyone else that you're inviting, so that you're not haunted house surprising the grandparents with last minute requests or whatever. But putting stuff like that on the calendar, but then also putting stuff like shopping, because I currently have a pretty clear desire of what I want my wardrobe to look like in my 40s, but I don't like shopping. So putting that time in the calendar to just like think about it once a week, I don't always do that, but at least it's there and I can see it, and it's reminding me that that's something I want to start making time for. So even if I'm not actually following through with it, it's at least the thought is there that, okay, hey, you keep saying you wish you had clothes that felt better, for this kind of event or circumstance, but you're not shopping for them. So, okay, put that in the calendar. It's stuff like having a Wednesday date with my husband and knowing that I have a little list that I had ChatGPT help me make, where it's like, what are some fun different activities, like things that we could do besides just watching our favorite shows and other things at the house when we're home for a home date, or even in the city of Houston. What are some things that we could do seasonally as a date night out of the house or as a family? And so putting like a family field trip in for the third Sunday of every month, for example, like a little field trip. And you can use tools to help you actually create a little list and put that in your Google Calendar invite and description, so that you have that resource to go back to. And it just takes some of the offloading and the mental load and puts it there. If nothing else, that's the argument, right? Like to share the mental load of all the stuff that you're carrying, and there are all these open tabs of all these events that are going to happen anyway. It's not a surprise, but it's just there stuck in your head. Put that ish on a calendar and put some reminders and notifications in there, and let technology serve you in a beautiful way. Yes, there's lots of mess and creepy things about technology and the way that it's going, but let's use it for the ways that it can actually support and help us. So that's my case. I'm interested to hear if it helps you see things in a new way, maybe impacts how you might try scheduling whatever, this next month, this next year, whatever it is. I also have, I have a giant science board, you know, like the cardboard science board. Let me know if you're listening to this and you want a picture of it, then message me and I can send you a picture of it. But I have like Q1 as a column, Q2 as a column, Q3 as a column, Q4 as a column, and then I have like a monthly printout of each of the months for each of the quarters of the year, so that I have a visual. And there's also like, I mean, there's all kinds of calendars where you can see the year at a glance, but it's like putting family, birthdays, holidays, school breaks, all of that stuff. It's just, how can we care for ourselves and better care for our people by just putting a little bit more thought into how we're showing up in time and space. And it's not just making things less stressful, it also makes things more enjoyable because we get to savor them more. It goes back to the scenic route, and it's like, okay, wow, I can look at my year and see these are the things that are likely to happen. There are going to be an untold number of surprises and curveballs and all of that. But in the meantime, this is cool. I like this little life. I love that song. I can link that in the comments too, or in the show notes too. But it's like looking at your calendar as a canvas. You get to decide what goes on it. That's how we actually fill and create the life that we wouldn't trade for anything. We can design a lot of it. Not everything. And it's not about controlling it, but it's like setting the scene for whatever your version of your on her terms universe may look like. And it starts here. All right, try that on. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you next time.